We did, you're right.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. We are going to reconvene our open session. And I'd like to ask Trustee Prendergast to report out actions taken in closed session.
No report.
Thank you for that. Now have the invocation led by Trustee Wright, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Trustee Jay.
Our Father who art in heaven, we thank thee for gathering us together in this board meeting. We again thank thee for the freedoms that we have and to live in the great land of America. We pray at this time for the families and friends of the victims of the recent Pittsburgh synagogue shooting and for other incidents that are happening in our nation. We ask thee to please continue to bless us with love and protection. May we all become more unified in all that we do. We are thankful for our students and for our dedicated faculty, administrators, and staff in our community college district. Bless our Board of Trustees, our Chancellor, and all in attendance in our meeting this evening for the discussions and for our efforts. We sincerely pray for guidance and will do so humbly in his name. Amen.
Would you follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our great nation? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we do have one request for public comment, and it is Kathy Schmeidler. So I'd like to ask Kathy to come forward, and as she knows, to confine her remarks to 2 minutes.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Kathy Schmeidler. I'm an instructor of biology at Irvine Valley College, and I have had all sorts of other titles along the way, and some of them I still have. I'd like to speak to a couple of issues, but I think they center around something that I'm very concerned about with the board, and that is that the board seems to be, often anyway, set on maintaining a fiscal attitude and philosophy that was well taken 20 years ago, very appropriate 20 years ago, but I don't think has been modulated appropriately in the intervening years. And I think that your base, your voters and your taxpayers expect something different now in 2018 than what was expected in 1998. And sometimes I think you adjust beautifully, and I've spoken to each of you individually, and I think you know that I very often think that you're doing an absolutely wonderful job, but I think that some of the time you're not. So in particular tonight, I would like to mention 2 items. One, I believe, is being negotiated and may have a happy outcome, but at one point the board suggested to their negotiating team that the district own all intellectual property of faculty members, and that's just an absurdity. It's not even corporatist. It goes well beyond what any corporation would want, let alone what any academic institution would want. We are salaried, and to say that anything we do on district time belongs to the district is a ridiculous thing, because all of our time is district time. Anybody who's been an instructor here knows that we are thinking about our work and grading our work all of the time. The other issue that I have is with our foundations. Our foundations support a huge amount of work at the district, and the board has the facility to make it easy or difficult or impossible for our foundations to support the good work at the colleges. And I very much hope that the board will take that into account and support the foundation efforts. And the foundations permit faculty and students and staff to do things which are outside of the normal budget and which support student learning and student activities in ways that are impossible to do without the foundations. So I hope that you will take that into consideration as you deliberate on the rules under which you will fund and support the foundations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. Are there any other requests for public comments? Okay, seeing none, we will now move on to board reports, and let's start with Trustee Lang.
Yes, despite the disappointing result, my wife Julie and I did attend the homecoming football game at the Mission Viejo High School Stadium. It's great to see all the former alums honored at halftime and to participate with Trustee Wright in some of the festivities. I'm looking forward to joining others this Friday at the Teacher of the Year Awards dinner at Disneyland Hotel to honor those outstanding teachers from our community college district and throughout the county. And finally, as a former Pittsburgh resident and a member of the Jewish faith, it was with great sadness and a good measure of anger that I am personally dealing with related to the attacks on the synagogue that occurred this past Saturday. The comments from our nation's president were disgraceful and embarrassing, in my opinion. We absolutely need reasonable gun control laws, not more armed guards. Unfortunately, this is a lesson that we continue to fail to learn from. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Trustee Lang. Trustee Jay.
I wanted to thank Doug Barr for his great history of Saddleback College, which he's been working so hard, and he's done a wonderful job, and I just want him recognized and appreciated for what he does. And then I attended the Board of Trustees annual self-evaluation on September 29th, and then I also attended, as Dave did, the Orange County Business Council's 2018 Economic Forecast Conference in the Hotel Irvine on October 25th.
Thank you for that, Trustee Jay. I also attended the board retreat, and we had a productive retreat. We'll hear about that a little bit later through our goals. I attended the groundbreaking for the Health and Wellness Center at IVC, which was a nice dedication, and then I also attended the economic forecast at OCBC. And I just want to make a few comments, expand on what Trustee Lang said, so indulge me for a second. First, I offer my deepest condolences to the victims of the horrifying hate crime at the Pittsburgh Tree of Life Synagogue on Saturday. I recently became aware here that restrooms and club flyers at Irvine Valley College have been defaced with swastikas. The presence of swastikas on the IVC campus is really deeply concerning. Swastikas are clear symbols of fascism, racism, and anti-Semitism, all of which have no place on our campus or anywhere for that matter. The First Amendment to the Constitution, which I hold near and dear to my heart, allows our citizens to freely express themselves however distasteful that speech may be. But that does not preclude our board, our district, and our colleges from swiftly rejecting hatred, bigotry, prejudice, and violence. Acts of violent hatred, like what happened in Pittsburgh, are clearly designed to evoke terror and sow discord. Our community college district benefits from having students, faculty, staff, and administrators who come from all over the world, and we have that here. The new ideas and unique perspectives enable us to create a better and unique educational experience for our students. So I am greatly concerned about the resurgence, or what appears to be a resurgence, of white supremacists and neo-Nazis around the country and here in our community. I appreciate the quick response of Irvine City Police Chief Mike Hamill and City Councilwoman Melissa Fox to the hate-related graffiti on IVC's campus. Chief Hamill and Councilwoman Fox both condemned the acts of vandalism and defacement on IVC's campus, especially those that were directed at specific racial or religious and ethnic groups. But we should lead too, no doubt about that, and it is the responsibility of our district and our college leadership to lead in denouncing hatred, violence, and bigotry on our campuses. So I do hope we lead on that issue. Providing an academic and work environment that respects the dignity and individuals and the spirit of a diverse, vibrant, and all-inclusive campus community is a priority for all of us. Thank you for that. Trustee Milchiker.
Yeah, I thank my fellow board members for their excellent remarks, and I agree with all of them. And I'm just not going to repeat what you said, but I agree with everything that you said. I just want to tell about the number of things I went to since the last board meeting, and then I'm going to talk about some things that are coming up at the district. So I'm going to a different, all the board members went to the district retreat, and it was very valuable, I think. I was interviewed on Laguna Woods TV channel, and that's posted on YouTube, so you can watch it. I attended the Orange County Community College Legislative Task Force meeting. And what they're asking for is suggestions for what the task force should concentrate on for their legislative goals this year. So any board member or any staff member that has some legislative goals, please give them to me and I'll bring them to the task force. The task force is going to meet monthly throughout the whole year to make sure that we correspond with the legislative calendar in Sacramento and in Washington, D.C., so we can really make a difference. When our district was in charge of the task force one year, we dealt with veterans issues, and we got some very good bills passed for all the California Community College veterans, so that was good. I also spoke at a student club at IVC, and getting to know the students was really good, and really enjoyed that. I attended the Walk of Hope at IVC to end suicide, chaired by Nancy Montgomery. Assemblyman Matthew Harper spoke, as well as Dr. Linda Fontanella. And then we had a walk around the campus, 1.4-mile walk around the campus, and there was a resource fair with many, many booths to help students considering suicide, to help them find another way so that they won't commit suicide, because we do not want that. Then I attended the IVC Health Center and Concessions groundbreaking ceremony with Trustee Jamal and Wright, and this also is a video on the YouTube channel of Irvine Valley College and the OCBC Economic Forecast. And I have the booklet, which I'm going to give to Anne Marie Gables, which is forecast what it's going to look like economically in the next few years for our district, which is important for us to know. Okay, just briefly. Saddleback College is having a Don't Ghost the Vote on Valentine's Day, and that's actually sponsored by the Pre-Law Society. What did I say? Valentine's. I'm sorry. Sorry, I was just talking off the top of my head. It's on Halloween. Thank you, Professor thank you, Trustee Prendergast. It's on Halloween, and I have some flyers, which I'm giving out to anyone that wants them. And the Emily Quinlan, the professor of the Pre-Law Society, was able to talk with the Registrar of Voters, and they're having a pop-up voters booth from the Registrar of Voters. So it's actually a voting booth from the Registrar of Voters. So staff and students will be able to vote from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. that day. And, you could bring your absentee ballots and drop it in that day, or you could vote if you've registered to vote that day. So we hope this makes it really easy for all students and faculty members and staff to vote, because it's really important. Also that day, they're having several Halloween events at Saddleback College, Dia de los Muertos event in the Culinary Arts Department, and an all-day free day of carnival games and food free day on the quad at Saddleback College for our students to encourage voting. They're also having a Dia de los Muertos event the same day on Halloween at Irvine Valley College. And there's 2 plays coming up that should be of interest to everyone. At Saddleback College, they're having Noises Off, which is supposed to be a farce and very, very funny, and that's November 2nd to November 11th. And at the IVC, they have the Rocky Horror Show, which you can come and dance the time warp with the rest of the staff, with the rest of the people in the performance. And it's a fun audience participation event for mature audiences only, and that's through November 4th. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Prendergast.
Wow, tough to follow. Yeah, I agree. Trustee Lang, Trustee Jamal, thank you for your comments. Obviously, as a government teacher, those are subjects that need to be discussed, and know that the young people out there are discussing them, and it is important. I do also want to be thankful for the opportunity to see the Professors of the Year honored at the Orange County Teachers of the Year celebration on Friday. I always look forward to that event as a teacher myself, so be there to honor them. Thank you for that, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Wright.
Thank you. I appreciate the comments that have been made so far regarding the Pittsburgh massacre, and other events have been happening. I was fortunate to attend the board retreat on Saturday, September the 29th, and also the homecoming that evening. Saddleback College did win the football game that evening. I also was privileged to attend on October the 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th the public forums that were held for the candidates for president here at Saddleback College, and I enjoyed listening to all four of those public forums. I also attended the IVC Health Center Health Center / concessions project groundbreaking at IVC on that was on Wednesday, October the 24th. I'm looking forward to the weekend now.
All right. Thank you, Trustee Wright. Trustee Witt.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to say what David Lang shared with you is very close to my heart, and I share the same sentiments. I attended the board retreat. It's our self-evaluation. No one likes to go to those. It was excellent. It was wonderful. Learned a lot, and I appreciated the leadership from both our Chancellor and our President of the Board. I also attended the football home game, our home game at Mission Viejo High School. That was a little different going over there, and I had fun. I attended the Saddleback Foundation meeting this past Thursday. We work very hard on the foundation. I have to say that what Kathy shared, it's, again, close to my heart, and I hope that we can come to an excellent agreement very soon. I want to thank Doug Barr for all that he has done in the history of Saddleback. I know that I always tell you this, but I've been here a very, very, very long time. And I hope that you can say that too and have the same enthusiasm that the day that you walked on this campus, because I still have it, if not more. I do want to share one thing because Marcia forgot something, and I'm going to have to talk to her about that. Just because you're in town, Marcia, doesn't mean you can't announce it. On November 10th, I invite all of you to be on my team for the 5K run. And I'm not going to run. I'm going to walk. I can't run anymore. But it's not a fundraiser. It's for us to get together. You have a small donation to give to be on the team. But I'd like for you to look at your calendar and seriously think, okay, can I get out of bed early on Saturday? We can all say yes, and I hope that you do. Why? Because it's for our vets. And we all say, when we see them at the airport or whatever, but really put your effort into it and come and participate and walk or run for them. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Now we have Student Trustee Huang.
Good evening. A few updates on September 28th to the 30th. IBC's ASG embarked on their ASG retreat, and it was very, very fun. It was definitely a learning experience for both old commissioners and new commissioners, as well as other ASG leadership. It's definitely, as Sessa always says, there's definitely a mood before and after retreat, and it really allows for the entirety of student governments to come together to move forward with our projects for the year. On October 9th, I met with Saddleback President Dr. Weiss, in which we discussed my upcoming monthly forums that I'll be holding on each campus. And the purpose of these forums will be so that I, as a student trustee, can become more in tune with each of the individuals on each of the campuses. So for Dr. Weiss, we wanted to more, in discussing his specific needs for the campus, he wanted to get a general overlook as to what students wanted to improve. And as for IBC, the forum will be focused more on campus safety. On October 22nd, IBC had the meeting for the American Association of University Women, which was also attended by Trustee Milchiker. And as I mentioned in the previous meeting, this meeting allows for the females of IBC to come together in a safe space to really empower themselves and have a safe space to develop as much leadership as they can given their circumstance. We had a very good outturn. We had a full room. People were searching for seats, and we had females from so many different fields. Like I talked about politics, my friends talked about STEM, and just knowing that there's a safe space on campus for this type of thing. Like we already have a feminist club, which we talked about earlier, but just knowing that we have a safe space for this thing to actually be done and to have a place to do it. I think it's really amazing. Another big project that I'm working on, I'm working along with all the other student trustees around California with the Student Senate for California Community Colleges to form a caucus called STAR. And what STAR stands for is Student Trustees for the Advancement of Rights for Students. And the Student Senate for California Community Colleges, it's aided by students, and there are multiple caucuses for different races and different gender expressions, but there isn't one specifically for the rights of students. So that's what we're starting this year. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Chancellor's report.
So I'd like to thank the board for your comments about recent events, both nationally and locally. And this month we've been focused on finding the next president for Saddleback College, and our efforts will continue during this next week, as you know, when you will be meeting with 3 of the candidates in interviews on Tuesday and Thursday. So thank you.
Thank you for that. College presidents' reports.
Thank you very much. I would like to also add, Trustee Lang, as you know, I share in your comments deeply. And I want to thank President Jamal. I fully agree with your statements regarding the swastikas and the defacement on campus. It's been a very sad number of days since then. And indeed, there's no room for this kind of activity, not just on campus, but anywhere. So we are dedicated to trying to stop this activity, trying to find out where it's coming from, and hopefully finding an individual or individuals that are responsible for it. I would like to recognize Coach Tom Pestalacci, who is the Women's Coach of the Year. And he has been named for this role because of a undefeated record last fall. And so he was named by the Orange County Conference Coach of the Year, as well as the Southern California Regional Coach of the Year by the American Volleyball Coaches Association. He has always been a superstar on campus, and he started the sand volleyball, as you know, and became part of the conference here. So we have congratulations for him tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jim Bice.
And at Saddleback, I think we had quite a month within 1 week. In the middle of the month, on Monday, we had a power outage and the beginning of the presidential forums. On, I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday, whatever it was, we had the great shakeout. And so we got a lot of testing done on our systems and what's working or not. And we've got some things we'll need to fix, but it was an eventful week. We also, on Tuesday, had the annual high school conference that Counseling Services has with 80 high school guidance counselors. And that was first thing Tuesday morning, following Monday and the power outage, and we were supposed to have breakfast and everything. So I really have to compliment the folks, staff that worked mightily to pull that off and make that morning a success. I got here and I wasn't sure if we were going to make it, but they got it in order and they did a marvelous job. And I would also say, also on November 10th, I've got my own little cadre that I'm putting together, wearing Saddleback colors to the Saddleback Riverside game in Riverside, where we live. And we probably will be in the minority there in terms of the fans, but we're going to give it our best shot. So we'll see how that works. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Jim. We have student government reports. Who's
Perry from
Perry.
Saddleback.
Good.
So on Halloween, ASG is organizing with a couple different clubs in the AUW and League of Women Voters a Don't Ghost the Vote event, as Trustee Muchker talked about. And there will be early voting, and students will be able to drop off absentee ballots if they have them. And we have a whole bunch of different candidates and campaigns and organizations that will be there to spread their message. And it will be a great event, as such as we're also having a costume party and other Halloween festivities throughout the day. On November 5th, Saddleback has the opportunity, and we are working out the final details right now, to have buses come to the college to drive students to the early voting station at Mission Viejo Town Hall. So we are working on the logistics with that, and I've been working with the IVC's ASG because we also have the opportunity to get buses for their campus to drive students to early voting stations. And then on November 6th, we're going to be having stations set up all throughout the campus, and we're working with organizations because Lyft and Uber, they're giving free rides to the polls. So we're going to be helping students that want to either leave class or be excused from class, and we're working with professors and other faculty on this to have a sign-up sheet for students to be excused from class if they haven't voted, and then we will help set them up with a free Lyft or Uber ride to their polling place on Election Day. We have also conducted, working with our research team, a survey for housing and food insecurity needs for our students, in which over 500 students have signed up saying they want updates on housing and food insecurity related issues at Saddleback. And we are reopening the survey to target even more students. And we are working on creating a newsletter to keep our students updated on everything happening with housing and food insecurity needs. And we are also organizing a town hall in which we'll have speakers come from groups such as People for Housing OC to talk about affordable housing and other housing related issues that students can get and student resources for housing. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry. So we don't have anyone today from IVC? No? Okay. All right. Are there any board requests for reports? I don't see any. None coming forward. Okay, we don't have any discussion items tonight, so let's move on to the consent calendar, 5.0. Do we have any polls? Wow. Okay. This could be a first in a long time. We have a motion to approve the consent calendar items from Trustee Prendergast and a second from Trustee Wright. Let's go ahead and vote. The motion is approved by a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. Oh, you're doing something right to get all the consent calendar items approved without a poll. All right, let's moving on to general action items. 6.1. This is the Board of Trustees Board Policy Subcommittee. This came out of a discussion at the board self-evaluation. And I think it's our desire tonight to approve and establish a board policy subcommittee consisting of 3 board members to review and propose board policies. So we have a motion from Trustee Witt and a second from Trustee Prendergast, and I think, well, we can't vote yet. But we're at 6-1. So Trustee Lang, why don't you, I think you had a comment, so while they're getting it right, I think we know what we're talking about, 6.1.
Yes. I guess I'm just interested in clarifying that whether the Board of Trustees Board Policy Subcommittee will only be dealing with board policies involving the Board of Trustees or all board policies, or I'm just not sure where we're going with this, and I want to be careful about micromanaging.
Okay. Do you want to comment or want me to comment?
Yeah, I think if I remember our discussion in the self-evaluation, we were wanting to, I mean, we get the report, for review and study on the agenda, and then the next month we vote on it, and we don't feel like we've been involved in the process of looking at which board policies that do affect us directly that we don't have any say in, like they're going to this committee. And I thought we had decided that it was going to be aligned or in conjunction with the already existing board policy review committee. I thought we had that part of the discussion too, that we weren't trying to be a separate entity.
No, I don't think there's any desire to be a separate entity.
Or superseding that committee that already exists.
It just isn't sufficient clarity, I guess, in this item in terms of what we're trying to accomplish with the board subcommittee to satisfy me at this point, I guess, to support this. So that's why I'm interested in
Yeah, I think that there's an explanatory note from the Chancellor that's in here on the Board Policy Subcommittee, and I think that I think the Board Policy Subcommittee would have the ability to look at all board policies. I think there would be a prioritization to look at those that that more directly affect us in our decision making. So I'm very supportive of doing this. I don't think it's in any way micromanaging. In fact, I think the products of the subcommittee would go to the Chancellor for her to look at what we're doing and have to go through all the other normal channels and come back here again for open session discussion. So, I mean, I think it's some. Go ahead.
So would the subcommittee of the board, the three members? So would the subcommittee of the board, the three members who are serving on the committee, review the board policies after it's gone through all of the different constituents groups, after they get approved, after they're changed, after they are approved by the constituent groups, and prior to being put on the board agenda? That's the way I envision it. I just wondered what the time frame is.
That's fine if it's like that. I think it's fine if we do it that way. Yeah.
I guess we could decide to do it any way we want.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, I would think you could also go the other way, that if we identify a board policy that we have a question about, or we would like to see looked at, that we make a recommendation to the board.
It could go either way.
The Board Policy Review Committee. Hey, can you guys take a look at this, brainstorm some things? Here's some things we thought of when we looked at it, that if it's okay with you, see if that can be a change that we'd be accepting of. I think the key is that we've been going now for a long time where they just pop up on the agenda, and it's like tonight. There's 12 of them.
I had a huge number of comments tonight, but it's just not enough time to discuss it here.
So just something. I think we were just trying to be more active, but not micromanaging it to say, hey, we want this changed, or we want this in it, but more of, we want to just have a little bit more involvement in the process.
Well, I think the involvement and to have participatory ownership over these policies. They are board policies, and I think and Chancellor and I have talked about this, and I think it's overdue. I totally understand what Trustee Lang is saying, and having some concerns about being too broad, but I mean, nothing's going to be done without sunshine on it. No policies would be changed without the drafts would go to the Chancellor, and then through whoever else needs to review it before coming back here for final approval. So I think it's a good thing to have the board involved in the policies that it makes.
Yeah, my issue is, by the very discussion that we've had tonight, it tells me that this thing is not fully cooked yet. And I think it needs to come back to this board before we vote on this item. It's my opinion. And I'd vote to table if I had any sense at all that I'm, not the only one that feels that way. But I just don't think that we've fully thought this out before we take action on it tonight.
I would agree that we can. My only thing is if we do, hopefully we can have it by next month, so that if it is established, we can use it as part of the reorg in December, as part of what we decide who's on what committees. Because we have all the other committees we do that night. So certainly we have one more meeting in between now and then to get it right.
All right, then I'll make the motion to table this item for tonight.
I'll second it.
All right, we have.
I think we have to vote this thing.
yeah, this thing's not working. Should we all vote on? The screen is frozen. You have a frozen screen here. Yeah.
Yeah, and
We have a motion and a second.
there's a motion and a second to table the creation of a board policy task force.
I didn't have a problem with it because it says the Board of Trustees will periodically review board policies. I don't have a problem with that sentence. And then the Chancellor shall assist the Board of Trustees in the formation of the revision of all board policies.
You're reading from the background information, though, not the recommendation.
Oh, sorry. Oh, no, I'm not sorry, because that would what the background is what the recommendation says, that we establish a subcommittee to do that.
But I think I agree with Trustee Lang that in the language that you just read, it's saying that we're going to write the policies without going to shared governance, that the Chancellor is going to help us rewrite the policy. And I think that's what we kind of want to avoid. We want to be a part of it, but not supersede the system that's already there. That's right. If we establish it the way that's written, then the Board Policy Review Committee is defunct.
No, I totally disagree with that, but I'm going to go along with
okay.
I'll go along with the
time.
motion and the table to provide clarity to this, but I don't agree with that at all. I think this is long overdue to have some greater board role in the policies that we vote on.
And I don't disagree. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah.
That we should have a greater role. I just think it needs to be a more restricted role, in my view.
Well, in the spirit of wanting to get unanimity on this, which I think is important, doesn't have to happen, but we get closer to it. But I don't have any problems in all voting on it tonight. I think it's clear and long overdue. But
Yeah, I don't have any problems, but if some of the board members want to have it more prescriptive or want to look at it more, I'll vote to table it because I think it could wait for another month too, just to be, collegial with my board members. Right. So, but anyway, I'm wondering too, if you're looking at the board policies, I think perhaps you should look at the matching administrative regulations at the same time, because what we've been doing over the last few years is actually making the board policies more concise and more just general, and creating the administrative regs to be more specific and more prescriptive. So if we're going to be looking at the board policies, I think we should look at the administrative regs at the same time. So that's my feeling about it.
And I think that might get into, I'll speak against what I just said before. I don't think the board should be involved in the ARs. I think the board needs more involvement in the policy itself, not the AR.
Right. And I think, too, the idea of trying to get it right is not a bad thing. And we get the agenda on Thursday. If it's still not to a level that people are comfortable with, we can obviously amend it that night or offer amendments.
But to Marcia's point, I think there have been, and I think you've been doing a better job, Chancellor, in trying to move these through to clean them up a little bit, the board policies, that I think in some instances board policies were written like ARs, and I don't think that was appropriate. Very prescriptive, very regulatory, and not much policy.
Thank you, but that's actually B-Park that's doing that work.
Yeah. So that's fine. We'll try to provide some greater clarity in the, in the actual item itself instead of the background, so it'll come back at the next board meeting. Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
Now we can vote. Good.
Okay, the item's been tabled by a unanimous trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. Okay, next item is the Board of Trustee Goals for 2018 through 2019 to approve our goals as a board. We have a motion from Trustee Milchiker and a second from Trustee Jay. I would like to say something about it, and you too. Chancellor Burke.
So the board drafted the goals at the retreat and then asked that we bring them out to the college presidents who were not in attendance at the retreat, and we also took them to the district-wide planning committee. And we received 2 comments that day. One was the suggestion that the board consider these to be 18-month goals through December 2019 as opposed to the summer. And part of the reason why is the first 2 goals are measurable goals, and we won't have the data for having achieved those things until October or November. So that seemed like quite a reasonable suggestion. The second suggestion was that perhaps the goal in Goal 2 was a little too ambitious, and I leave this for the board to discuss. It was suggested that maybe a percentage somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 or 8% would be more reasonable.
On the transfer.
on the transfer.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. You're Trustee Prendergast, then you, Marcia.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't, with the second point, I don't have a whole big concern of keeping it where it is. I don't mind moving it. I do know, though, in our discussion, because a lot of these came from the state goals that we're trying to do our part in matching and show that we're working toward those as part of our goals. The state number was much lower, but they were only saying UCs and Cal States. And so what we were saying is we would think that percentage would be higher if we also included beyond, independents and privates. So, I mean, if it still seems like it would be too high to go for 10, the state goal, if I remember correctly, was 6 or 7 already with just the UCs and the Cal States. And so we weren't going that much higher, in my view, when we decided to add, especially when we looked at the data we were given that we were already pretty close to the goal already.
I think Denise is looking it up.
Okay,
I think you're right. It was probably in the neighborhood of 7 or 8% just for UCs and CSUs.
Yeah.
so as Denise is looking that up, Trustee Milchiker.
Okay, I was going to say, this is the first time I remember that we've created goals for ourselves and for the Chancellor that are so measurable. Usually we have kind of wishy-washy goals that are goals, but they're not measurable. These are really measurable goals, so it'll be interesting to see if we can meet them. We hope we can. I don't mind moving it to 7% just because our two colleges are doing so beautifully already. Irvine Valley College has the #1 transfer rate in the state, and Saddleback College is very close behind. I don't know, 2 or 3, something like that, 4 maybe. But anyway, so for us to increase it by 10% is going to be much more difficult than another community college that really is pretty low in their transfer rate. Now, someone that is a statistician could tell me this more than I can, but I did take statistics many years ago. And so I think because we are already up there, I don't mind just increasing it by 7% myself. So that's my feeling. But you are right. They were just talking about the transfer to state colleges and universities. They weren't talking about independent colleges or private colleges throughout the nation.
So we have the number, and it's actually 6% for just UCs and CSUs that we would need to do.
Okay.
Well, all right. Trustee Wright.
My question is to the presidents of both of the colleges. What are our transfer rates right now for IVC first and then for Saddleback second?
For public CSU, UC, and all
Right.
privates,
Right.
or any out-of-state publics, right?
I don't have that right at hand. Okay. I don't think Glenn does either.
Ballpark figure?
IVC is #1 in the California.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
in terms of a percentage.
Yeah, in terms of the percentage.
Okay.
I think my VPI is looking at his computer.
Okay, we've got some people doing some big data research right now, so
Yeah.
we'll
That
turn
might
it
help
over
us.
to Trustee Lang.
Yes, you're not going to like what I have to say again here either, because I really think this requires a little bit more work on our part, frankly, in terms of the goals. I've got a couple of changes that I would suggest as well, but I honestly think that this needs a little bit more work and ought to come back probably to us at our next meeting. Once we've fully looked at all of the ideas that we're throwing out here in terms of changing the percentages and so forth and so on. So just a couple of comments that I had would be, obviously got an extra D in #4 that ought to get removed. I would actually change the beginning of the status item to have that say that we would assure or support the district in achieving these certain measurable goals, because I think that's really what we're intending to do here. And there's a couple other areas I think also that need to that could be wordsmith a little bit more artfully, I guess.
So, I'm sorry. Trustee Prendergast, again.
Well, I was just going to say we could do exactly what we said we could have done with the last one, is just kind of amend and work on it. But it was kind of, again, my understanding we already did that at the retreat. So I don't know if these got changed wording wise from what we had up on the board. I don't remember that detail. But then going back to just the discussion on the 10% versus 7.8, I mean, regardless of where they're at now, it's dawning on me that it might be that the reason that the statewide goal to increase it just for the UCs and the Cal States was to promote those two systems. So it's well within our purview to go outside of that and go to the independents and the privates. But if we wanted to be more in line with the state, we could push it back to the 6% and just UCs and Cal States. But I don't know why we want to do that.
But
All right, Trustee Lang again.
Yeah, so the only other point that I wanted to make, I think the only thing that's changed a little bit since we had our board retreat is now we've had a chance to put these goals out there a little bit and get some feedback from it. And I think we can probably benefit now from the knowledge that we've gained from that process and maybe make this a little bit better.
Well, I appreciate that. I would like to ask the Chancellor to chime in because the way I understand what we did, our goals are her goals. So, and I think this has been vetted. I mean, I don't know. Is there more that needs to be done, Chancellor Burke? Do you think to vet this further? I mean,
I don't believe so. I mean, we could vet it. We could take it through every committee, but the goals will be finished next year.
Yeah.
So.
So, I mean, unless we're going to change the percentage, we could do that tonight. If we're not going to change it, then, I mean, I would be in favor of moving it forward. I don't see why we need to wait any longer. We had a long day there.
And again, these are just goals. These aren't set in stone. If we meet them, heads are going to roll. Don't meet them, heads are going to roll. I mean, there's certainly, we'll look at the data and see if we were off and then adjust from there. But I mean, again, they're not policies. They're not, absolute rules. They're goals. And I think we're okay with goals.
Yeah, and I really want to thank the Chancellor. I think she pointed out to me and to us that our goals have been less than measurable over the years, and I really respect her. I mean, she came forward and said, you guys need to be more measurable, and I agree with that. And she really led this process for us to be much more specific, and then to tie our goals to her goals, because your success is our success. So, I mean, maybe one of them's a little aspirational. I don't know, but I think it has been vetted by a lot of people. So, I would. Yes, Trustee Witt.
Yes. Trustee Lang, is it because they are so measurable?
Not
We've
at all.
Had,
no,
we've
I
never
like
had such measurable.
I like the
goals
fact
before.
that they're
Yes.
measurable. That's a very positive item.
I mean,
I just want to make sure that they're achievable because we're putting this out there to the public to say these are our goals, and so we want to make sure that this is exactly what we want to take ownership of, and we're already getting some feedback to say, well, maybe some of these things aren't realistic, and I would suggest that there are a couple of items here that maybe could be worded a little bit better. But
could you just tell me which one? Because I look at them because I'm into measurable goals, as people would know in the nursing program. And I read them again, and you look at words like research and identify. That is not difficult when you talk about equity gaps. Lifelong learning, the enrollment of that is not difficult to measure. Research and identify non-academic barriers. And we're not saying here we're going to correct them. We're saying we're researching and identifying them. Although
well, that's a good one, because that one I had a specific suggestion for example, instead of research and identify, which frankly sounds a little wishy-washy to me, I would say approve a plan to reduce achievement gaps identified by research undertaken by the colleges.
Well, I like that one even better.
You're talking about number 5?
No, 7.
7.
I like that when
You're making my point as to why maybe we could artfully word this a little bit better.
Okay, I hear that point and well taken. But since these were our goals and we've never had non-academic barriers on there before, I thought we should start at the top. And when someone says, well, how did we research and identify it? That's why I thought we started that way. I would love to have a plan. I've got a great idea, many ideas.
Okay, the word you use is strategies instead of plan.
Research and,
Identify non-academic. Are we talking about number 7?
yeah, number 7.
Research and identify non-academic.
Actually, I was
Identify,
on-
not even research, identify not non-academic barriers.
I was on number
and,
5.
Oh, you were on
I thought
5?
it was 7.
Yeah.
You were on 5. Oh, I wasn't on 5. I was on 7.
Doesn't it 5 call for a plan?
That's
Yeah.
equity.
No. Calls for research.
No, it says report back to the board on a plan to
Research and identify report
reduce achievement
on
gaps.
Number 5 is research.
Yeah, both 5 and 7. Well, it says research and identify on a plan. It doesn't, well, okay, doesn't talk about adopting a plan, but I suppose you could read that into it.
Would it be okay if we just added formulate a plan after the research and identify?
Well, I think what he's trying to say is that it should say something to the fact that we would act on a plan. That we don't just get a plan and then go, oh, that's nice. that we
Now,
that
I
we
mean,
they were taking
Implement a plan.
So I said approve or implement
Okay,
a plan.
implement
Yeah.
a plan. Does everybody agree with that one?
Well, again, I don't want to spend the time tonight to wordsmith this thing to get this to be exactly what we want it to be.
Okay.
But that's just me.
the motion on the table is
There's a motion on the table by Trustee Milchiker and a second from Trustee Jay. This is a motion to improve, so I'm gonna, good comments by Trustee Lang and others. Let's go ahead and vote. We have a motion and a second.
Do you
That's,
want
that's, we already have a motion and a second to approve.
do you want to keep the number of students transferring to 10%, or and what are the recommendations of the Chancellor to reduce it to 7%?
It's not my recommendation, but it was voiced as a recommendation
From the academic senates or
from one person at the DWPC meeting at the district-wide planning. Blake, you want to address it? That was him.
now it comes down to who made that suggestion.
he raised his hand.
I recommended that so we could exceed it rather than just match something at 10%. So I was looking for us to do something really better than what we had planned on. That was my recommendation.
That's good.
What?
Change it.
It's whatever you want.
So we'd have to amend it.
That can be done.
So I make a motion to amend I've already made the motion. Can I amend my own
Can you
motion?
friendly amend? You
Okay.
can do a friendly amendment.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need to have someone that's Robert's Rules expert here. But anyway, I make a motion to amend my original motion to change it to 7%.
8%, you mean?
8%. Okay.
Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you meant 8%, right?
I said 7 or 8%. I didn't really.
Pick one. Pick one.
I'll say 7% so we could exceed it and it looks really good.
All right.
But if someone feels differently, they could have it.
Well, if you're friendly in your friendly amendment to me, I would suggest you have it at 8%.
Really?
Well, because it's already at 10%, we have someone who's speaking out asking for 8%. Why would we go below that?
Oh, split the difference. Okay, so I'll change my amendment to make it 8% rather than 7%.
Okay, so that's the only change in the item.
Is it friendly to the seconder?
Is it friendly to you, Trustee Jay?
Yes.
Yes, it is. All right, let's go ahead and vote. Okay, the goals are approved by 6 yes trustee votes, 1 abstention, and a student trustee yes vote. All right, we did it. Moving on, 6.3, IVC Barranca Entrance Project Resolution, Authorization of Acquisition of a Landscape Easement with Southern California Edison. Is there a motion to approve this item? There's a motion from Trustee Jay and a second from Trustee Milchker. Any discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. The motion carries by a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. 6.4 IVC Barranca College Barranca Entrance Grant of Easement and Purchase and Sale Agreement with SCE Southern California Edison. We have a motion to approve the item. We do, from Trustee Jay and a second from Trustee Wright. Seeing no questions, let's go ahead and vote. Motion carries by unanimous trustee yes vote and student trustee yes vote. 6.5, the grant award from the California Community College Chancellor's Office to IVC. The award for innovation in higher education in the amount of $2 million. There's a motion from Trustee Lang and a second from Trustee Prendergast. Let's go ahead. Oh, any questions? Let's go ahead and vote. The motion carries by 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. 6.6, Saddleback College Community Education License to Use Agreement for FLS International Intensive English Program. Ratify the license. It's a motion from Trustee Jay and a second from Trustee Witt. Any questions? Nope. Let's go ahead and vote. Motion carries by a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. We now have Saddleback College, Public Relations, Advertising, Consulting Services for Orange County Regional Strong Workforce Program with Interact Communications. A motion from Trustee Jay and a second from Trustee Witt. Is someone here? Can someone here answer to this? Hey, Tony.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for coming up. I'm supportive of this item, and I had some questions with the Chancellor just about. And it's a significant contract. It's very large in nature for this kind of work. I know it involves all 9 colleges, correct? And I just want to be sure we really have built-in measurable goals. There's some things in there that were, to use the Chancellor's word, a little squishy that I thought. And I just want to be sure that this work is, are we overseeing this particular work? Is there a committee of the colleges that are going to oversee it? How's that going to work?
Well, there's a steering committee that's been established that's represented by all 9 colleges. That includes members of the PIOs of all the colleges and as well as the districts that are on the steering committee. And then it's also overseen by the fiscal agent as their representative as well.
And you think it's the right amount for this kind of work?
They're doing a lot of work for us because each district and each college just doesn't have the manpower to do it. They're doing both the creative work, and included in this $1 million extension to the contract is also the media buys as well.
Okay, I saw that, so I figured that was going to be a big part of it.
Right. In the first round of the contract, we spent close to $600,000 in media buys. This time around, it's about $400,000. We pulled it back a little bit. Okay. But instead, now what the work is, a lot of the creative work the whole idea is to build attention to the various career education programs within the county and then drive it to the colleges so that we can influence the potential enrollments there.
All right. Okay. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think I was the only one who had a question, so then we can go ahead and vote on 6.7. Someone hasn't voted. The motion carries by a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. 6.8 Saddleback College Access Control Project Construction Management Services, Bernards. Approve the Bernards agreement. Do we have a motion? A motion from Trustee Wright, a second from Trustee Jay. Any questions? Trustee Lang.
This one I was struggling with a little bit because I saw such a substantial fee proposal difference that was outlined on the exhibit. I know that it was kind of late in the day when I got the district's response on this, so I thought maybe you could share what was going on here with all of us, including me, in terms of evaluating the different bids that occurred here.
So I'll let Vice Chancellor Gable address it.
Thank you. So what happened with this proposal was there was a little bit of confusion with the responders. So we had 4 responders. The Bernards, when they originally responded, they had put in that they would have 1 or 2 people for 6 months only, and the rest of the responders had 2 people for 12 to 14 months. What we need is 1 person for 12 months, and then that same person at halftime for an additional 6 months, or no, 2 months, sorry. And so when we got the proposals from Bernards, they were obviously the lowest. They were also the highest scored based upon their technical merit. So we reached out to them to negotiate the pricing with them based upon what we needed. And that's where the price came in at the $399,968. So it is still much lower than the other ones, but it's also half of the people that the other ones proposed on, which is what we need.
Well, okay, but I guess my question is we went back to Bernards and talked to them about the error of their ways in terms of what they had envisioned for the contract. Did we afford the same opportunity to the other folks that had bid on the project?
We did not, because the way the public contract code reads when you're negotiating pricing, you can only negotiate with 1 vendor at a time. And so since we negotiated with Bernards and we felt that the amount that they came in at was an appropriate amount, we just left it at that and did not go back to the other 3 to ask them to rebid.
So that gives me a little bit of heartburn because I think that they got the bid, frankly, without it really being a competitive process. In my view, that everybody is operating on the same terms and conditions.
Right, but if you look at the other bids, and I think the assumption and the discussion that was made by the staff when they were looking at it, so the other bids had 2 people for the period of time. So if you assume that that would just be cut in half, then Bernards was still lower than cutting all the other proposals in half.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Oh, Trustee Witt.
Can I just ask a question? So when you went back to Bernards, did I hear you correctly that now they've come back with one person for 12 months?
1 person for 12 months and that same person at halftime for an additional 2 months.
Awesome.
Okay, seeing no further questions, let's go ahead and vote. The item carries by a 6-1 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. Okay, 6.9, travel contract for study abroad program for Oxford, England, for Saddleback College students, the American Institute for Foreign Study. Motion from Trustee Wright, second from Trustee Witt. Any questions? Okay, let's vote. And the motion carries by 7-0, trustee vote, yes vote, and a student advisor, student trustee yes vote. 6.10, the award of contract for consultancy services to develop the districts and colleges' education, master, and strategic plans. We have a motion from Trustee Lang, second from Trustee Jay, and I just wanted to, I had just a quick comment that I think some of these the services provided for the educational and strategic plans probably should be done internally and could be, especially in the future. I think the role, I'll support this, and I think I had talked to the Chancellor a little bit about this on a call, that I view the role of consultants as you use consultants when you don't have the expertise internally, or it makes sense to have someone from the outside, for example, do the work. Like a clear example is like an investigation, but there are other examples where it makes sense to have outside consultants to do this kind of work. So I think going forward, I would like to look for more ways to take some of this work to do it in-house as opposed to bringing on consultants, but I am going to support this. Trustee Prendergast.
I don't know. I agree and I disagree. Primarily, my concern is
Which comment?
Well, I'm getting there.
The need for consultants, or
yes, the idea of consultants. You also use them when you don't want to pile work onto your employees that are already doing a lot. So we may have the expertise internally, but I would be concerned that we ask these people to be on committees, and we ask them, are you going to pay them more, and this, that, and the other. So I don't know if I have as much trouble with consultancy on something like this, as long as, again, when I was reading it, they're going to work hand in hand with the people here that do have the expertise. They're not doing it all by themselves. So I don't know. In this case, like I said, I agree that we should cut back a little bit on consultancies where we can, and maybe, work it to where it's less labor intensive for our folks if we're paying this kind of money. But at the same time, they definitely want to make sure we have input from our people internally.
okay. All right. Trustee Witt.
I believe that it needs to come within. I believe we have an incredible amount of talent on this campus, and when it is too hard, then I think, or too much it's time consuming, that we can offer incentives or special project. I remember when I was faculty that several times I was offered, well, it wasn't me, but whoever wanted to do the project, it had some incentive to it, but it offered the program my expertise in getting it done. We didn't have an outside person coming in. So I believe that we should focus more on internal resources and subsidize our internal resources as opposed to going outside. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it on our own time. You have to find a balance there.
I totally agree. Trustee Milchiker.
I think I'm coming from the same place. I've already spoke with Chancellor Burke about this. It seems that our district has a long history of using consultants for different things, as well as this is for doing the education master and strategic plan for the whole district. And it's really important because we have to do the educational and strategic master plan prior to doing a facilities master plan to make sure that we put our future buildings in the right place and have the proper buildings and have the proper facilities that follows our educational master plan, because we're an educational institution. And I think Chancellor Burke felt that she wanted to use a consultant at this time because she's relatively new, and we actually have a pretty new chancellor, a pretty new chief fiscal officer, chief HR officer. So I think in this case, having a consultant now may not be a bad idea. And then Chancellor Burke said in the future she thinks she might be able to do it herself, and she might be able to wean the district from using so many consultants. Now you could answer if I have that right. Okay.
Keep talking about you in front of you. So
yeah,
that was the board retreat I said we'd do.
Okay, good.
All right. I think we're mostly in agreement on this. Maybe TJ, you're not quite, but I think we seem to be more in agreement than not in agreement. So let's go ahead and vote. The motion carries by a 6-1. Trustee yes vote, and a student trustee yes vote. Okay, 6.12. I'm sorry. I don't know. I went 6.11. The renew apartments, amendment number 1 to the amended and restated ground lease for Promenade LLC. We have a motion. We have a motion from Trustee Prendergast, second from Trustee Jay. Any questions or discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. We have a unanimous trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. Okay, now we're at 6.12. ATEP Temporary Fencing Project, award a bid to Amtek Construction. Is there a motion? There's a motion from Trustee Lang and a second from Trustee Jay. Seeing no questions, let's go ahead and vote. And the motion carries by 7-0, trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. 6.13, resolution authorizing Crestron audio visual equipment as the single source standard for procurement district-wide. There's a motion from Trustee Lang, and we have a second from Trustee Wright and a question from Trustee Witt.
Maybe I missed something, but why single source?
This is the system that both of the colleges had agreed that they want to use in the classrooms.
Well, they did agree. Okay,
Yes.
enough.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further questions, let's go ahead and vote. And the motion carries by a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. 6.14, which is authorization to purchase the audiovisual equipment through the LA Community College District Master Agreement with Golden Star Technology. So a motion from Trustee Wright and a second from Trustee Jay. Let's go ahead and vote. Bless you. The motion carries by a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. 6.15, we talked a lot about board policies tonight, but we have a number of board policies that are up for board approval tonight. And do we have a motion on those? We have a motion from Trustee Milchiker, second from Trustee Jay. I do see a question from Trustee Milchiker.
Yeah, I had a question about a number of these, but I had most of them answered, I think. But one of the things, it was on the student, I'm going back here, it was on the student, member of the Student Board of Trustees, almost the entire policy has been, is gone. And all it says is the district shall have one non-voting advisory student member of the Board of Trustees who shall represent both colleges for a period of 1 year. The Chancellor shall develop administrative regulations regarding qualifications for the student trustee and a process for election procedures. I'd like to see the administrative regulations along with this particular. I know I don't think it's micromanaging to have the board see these regulations and to see what they're saying, and so that we know what the process is for, for the actually the process is for what are the requirements for students to run to be a student member of the board, what are the voting, what's the process for voting. So I'd like to see the regulation along with this.
So we forwarded that to you later this afternoon.
Oh, you did?
The link to the AR.
Oh, you
that
did?
goes with this.
I didn't
yes.
see it. What time did you do it?
Right. It was late. It was
Okay,
like
probably was already
2:30 in the
here. Oh,
afternoon.
okay.
So, and basically what we did in revising this is make this a true policy and then put all of the regulations about how the student is selected and so forth into the AR.
No, that's what we've been doing with all of our regulations, make the board policies true policies, and then putting the actual regulations in the AR. So you did for it, but I didn't. I was already here, so I didn't see that, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So
Are you okay?
Is that,
let me just look. I'll look on my email here. So see if I got it.
acronym?
I'm trying to. Here it is. 104.1.
We should. Yeah.
Has the new one been posted?
Yes, it has.
So I did. You did email it to me, and I did get it. But I was here already, so I didn't see it.
Probably the most significant change that was made on the administrative regulation was changing the GPA. So the board policy previously had a minimum GPA of 2.0. The administrative regulation, based upon a recommendation from both of the colleges, was to increase that minimum cumulative GPA to 2.25.
Okay. Okay. I think I'm okay with it for now.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we have a motion from Trustee Milchker and a second from Trustee Jay on 6.15, so let's go ahead and vote. The motion carries by 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. 6.16, these are several board policy revisions for review to accept for review and study.
Right, so these will come back next month.
So coming back, we have a motion from motion from Trustee Wright and a second from Trustee Jay and a question from Trustee Lang.
Yes, I just wanted to get administration's thoughts about why they wanted to increase the contract amounts in 2100 from 100 to 200,000.
So Vice Chancellor Gable will address this.
Thank you. So the reason that we're putting this forward is next month on the board agenda, we will be bringing forward a recommendation for the board to adopt the California Uniform Public Cost Construction Accounting Act guidelines, or formerly known as CUPCA. And what those guidelines do is it changes the bidding threshold for all of our public works projects. Currently, we have to do a formal bid for any public works project that is over $15,000, which is very cumbersome for such a small amount of money. If we are to implement the CUPCA regulations and guidelines, the bidding threshold then changes to you have to get 3 informal quotes for anything that is below $60,000. In between $60,000 and $200,000, we have to get 3 informal bids, and above $200,000 is where we do the formal bid. And so, by increasing this authorization to the $200,000, it'll help streamline the process, so that when we do the informal bids, we can still enter into the contract and have it come back to the board for a ratification, versus waiting for approval of anything over $100,000. So everything over $200,000 will come to the board for approval, and then under $2,000 would come to the board as a ratification.
So the plan is, so this was coming before you this month for review and study. And then next month, there's going to be a presentation to you about all of the ramifications of adopting the CUPCA standards and going to this higher level. This positioned us to, if you agree to do that, then we have you approve the board policy so that they'll go hand in hand, instead of doing the presentation on CUPCA and then 2 or 3 months later bringing you the board policy. So they would come together. So you're still going to have a whole separate discussion, because we recognize that this is a significant change in operation.
Okay, I guess something we have to think about.
Yeah. And I had a whole number of comments on a bunch of these for review and study, but I won't do them tonight because it'll take up too much time. But I had many questions on a lot of them. So I'll defer that because it is for review and study. So we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and vote. The motion item carries by a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. 6.17, academic employee and classified administrator personnel actions, no changes, or are there changes?
After reviewing this item, I would like to pull the contract for Jeannie Harris Caldwell. As I review it, it looks like this contract is missing a cell phone stipend, so it's not correct. Beside that, though, I want to point out, as we are required to do so by law, the administrative contract for Ken Lira, that I am required to ensure that the board understand that this contract is for to place him salary at range 20, step 5 at $159,204 per year, and that in addition to that, he will receive a monthly stipend of $125 for the use of a personal automobile and a $165 cell phone allowance. I don't see that same cell phone allowance present in Ms. Harris Caldwell's, and I'd like to pull hers to get that looked at and corrected.
Okay. So that contract is pulled. Anything else? We're good?
Everything else is correct.
All right. Well, we have a motion, but we don't have we have a mover, but not a seconder. We do now. Trustee Lang moves, and Trustee Milchker seconds. Looks like no further questions, so let's go ahead and vote. And the motion carries 7-0, and the student trustee yes vote. 6.18, the academic 2019-2020 tenure track hiring authorization. A motion from Trustee Wright, a second from Trustee Jay. Seeing no questions,
I have a question.
Having a question, Trustee Milchker.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, you know, we talked about this, that we have kind of a unique time when we had so many people retire last year because of the early retirement incentive, kind of an unprecedented number of people retire, that we've studied all these disciplines and we really know this is the discipline that we need to have as we go forward into the next millennium, into the future. So that's what I'm asking. Has this been studied? Have we been looking at these issues, making sure that we're these are the correct disciplines to help bring us into the future?
Let me start by saying these are the products of the shared governance process at each of the colleges. Is that correct?
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Satisfied?
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Seeing no further questions, let's go ahead and vote. Motion carries by 7-0, trustee yes vote and student trustee yes vote. I think we're on I think it's 6.19, Grace. There we go. 6.19, the faculty conversion to Canvas, the one-time stipends. Which it says one time, but it keeps coming up every month. So I guess it's one time. All right. We have a motion from Trustee Prendergast and a second from Trustee Jay. And I have a question. I guess it would probably be for maybe Anne Marie. How much longer are we going to keep paying out these stipends?
If I remember correctly, we still have another year. I'm going to look at pardon? A total of 3 years. And so we just started paying them out less than a year ago. I believe the board approved it in November or December of last year. So we still have 2 more years that we can pay them out.
Okay. And what's the amount again? $3 million, the amount authorized?
Yeah, it was just under, I think, 3.7 million.
Okay. So this is going to be coming back every month for the next year?
Possibly 2.
Okay. All right, Trustee Witt.
Can I ask, have we pretty much met that? I'm hoping that faculty have gotten to switch over to Canvas. So have we paid out most of that 3.7? I thought it was 3.8.
We've only paid out about 1.4 million at this point in time. I would have to look to the college presidents to see if they believe all the faculty have already converted or not.
For IBC, the conversion was done very early in the process, but the way the formula works, they can still gain some stipends as we move through these 3 years.
Glenn, how many faculty converted before they even knew there was a stipend?
Well, the way I understand it, and hopefully I'm not speaking out of school here, but for IBC, probably
In ballpark, I'm not going to.
probably most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Am I close? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Let's. Any other questions?
Yes, me again.
Trustee Witt.
I don't have a problem with this, but I need to have a clear understanding. Why haven't we converted everything in this year? Because if they were using Blackboard before, what are they using now? Because they can't use Blackboard. I'm looking at students. Am I wrong? I'm wrong. So we still can use Blackboard. I was told we couldn't use Blackboard. We got one more year of
That
Blackboard.
we would stop using Blackboard so we get some savings. I think
I'm looking at students. I'm just saying if faculty haven't switched over, then come on, let's switch over. Because students have to have a platform. So anyone in this room, tell me, when do we stop using Blackboard?
So I'm being told from the gallery back here that spring of 19 is the last semester that. This semester is the last. This semester will be converted by spring. Okay.
Sweet. Well, that's
They'll be
good then.
converted by spring of 19.
But the colleges will retain an archival version of Blackboard to resolve grade disputes, incompletes, and the like.
You want to say that again? No. Sounded good. I know.
Okay. All right. We've got a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and vote.
No.
The motion carries by a 6-1 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. Okay, 6.2, classified personnel actions, regular items. No changes to the item. We have a motion from Trustee Wright and a pending second from Trustee Witt. Any questions on 6.20? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote. Motion carries by a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. We now have non-bargaining unit personnel action, ratify non-bargaining unit employee personnel actions.
No changes.
No changes to the item. Do we have a motion? We have a motion from Trustee Wright and a second from Trustee Witt. Seeing no questions, let's go ahead and vote. Motion carries by a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. We are now at board agenda item 6.22 regarding a public hearing on the district initial proposal to the South Orange County Community College District, California School Employees Association, Chapter 586. Before we hold the public hearing, Vice Chancellor Viscachill will provide an introduction.
Thank you, Board President. The Board will conduct a public hearing to provide an opportunity for the public to comment on the district initial proposal to the South Orange County Community College District, California School Employees Association. If the Board has any questions throughout this public hearing process, I'm here to assist.
Does the Board have any questions for staff to assist with their understanding of this matter? Board item 6.22, the public hearing on the matter at hand is now open. Public comments are not to exceed 2 minutes. No desire for public comments. The public hearing is now closed. Is there any further discussion on this matter by the Board of Trustees? Seeing none, 6.22 is now concluded. And I don't think we have a vote on this. Okay. Yeah. So that concludes the hearing, and now we're going to move on to 6.23, which is final action on student discipline at Irvine Valley College. Trustee Prendergast.
Yes, so the chair will entertain a motion for the following. The board accepts the recommendation of a disciplinary hearing panel for expulsion of an Irvine Valley College student pursuant to board policy and administrative regulations 5401, and that the board hereby does expel the student effective immediately and directs the chancellor or designee to notify the student of the board's action.
Okay. Is there a motion on this matter? There's a motion from Trustee Lang, a second from Trustee Wright. Any questions? No. Let's go ahead and vote. (6.23) is approved by a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. Now moving on to 6.24. Final action in our public session here regarding a petition from a Saddleback College student. Trustee Prendergast.
Once again, the chair will entertain a motion that the board denied the petition of a Saddleback College student for reinstatement to the Saddleback College Associate Degree in Nursing program and authorizes the board president to sign a written response on behalf of the board stating the reasons for the board's action.
Okay, so there's a motion. There's a motion from Trustee Lang and a second from Trustee Witt. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing we do not, let's go ahead and vote. Motion carries by a unanimous 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. Moving forward to our last general action item, 6.25, which is the Police Officers Association, otherwise known as POA, tentative agreement or agreements.
Thank you, Board President. I just want to thank and acknowledge the president of the POA, Officer Bo Arbuthnot, Officer Ron Maligi, and Officer Keith Prinsing were the team representing POA, and from the district, I want to thank and acknowledge Chief Higa, Chief Meyer, and Kim Wittes for serving on the district side to bring this to a conclusion, to bring something to the board for approval.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion from Trustee Wright, second from Trustee Prendergast, and no further or no questions. So let's go ahead and vote. So the motion carries by a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. Moving on to reports. Staff response to public comments from the previous board meeting. Saddleback College and IVC speakers, a listing of speakers for events or classes. 7.3, the facilities plan status report. 7.4, monthly financial status report. 7.5, retiree OPEB trust fund. 7.6, quarterly financial status report. 7.7, basic aid report for period ending September 30th. Moving on to our reports from the administration and governance groups, starting out with Saddleback College Academic Senate.
Good evening, President Jamal and our trustees and Chancellor Burke. There are about 6 weeks left in the semester. Seems impossible. I have to say I'm optimistic about our future as a culture because of the quality of our students. Faculty have been deeply saddened by the events, tragic events in Pittsburgh and across our nation. I've been hearing a lot about that from them all weekend and all day today. I want to echo Kathy Schmeidler's comments regarding use of district resources to support our colleges. Faculty do an exemplary job of educating our students when we're not struggling with budget cuts and reduced support for those students. Academic Senate Fall Plenary is this Thursday through Saturday. That should be a lively time. All faculty look forward to a successful resolution of the contract negotiation process. We're optimistic about that, and that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you for that. You got your 8%.
We did.
The change in the goal. Oh, better be careful what I say.
Yeah, I know. I can't comment.
All right, Kurt Meyer, Faculty Association.
Good evening. Like many of my colleagues, I'm wearing a T-shirt that reads, "We're the faculty." This declaration is not a boast. It's not a confrontation. It's not just a sign of solidarity. It's a reminder and an affirmation of who faculty are and what we do. We recognize that it takes a village to raise a student, and that administration, staff, campus police, and faculty are all interdependent on one another, yet each plays important roles in our shared success. Because our primary mission is to educate our students, to prepare them for meaningful jobs and careers, for further study and lifelong learning, and for the awesome opportunities and responsibilities as members of a civil society, we faculty, with all due respect, are most central and most vital to that mission. We're the ones who counsel students about their academic goals, professional aspirations, and personal lives. We're the ones who help students locate and evaluate information within and beyond our libraries. We're the ones who help students achieve proficiency and pursue mastery of course content, who teach students not what to think, but how to think. We're the ones who value evaluations, not because they're tied to salary increases, but because when administered responsibly, they can be effective tools for improvement. Finally, we're the ones who include over 1,000 part-time faculty. We educate more than half the students, yet make less than half of what a full-time faculty member makes for the same work with the same qualifications. Make no mistake, tonight is a very encouraging night. I'm very encouraged by the fact that just hours ago, the districts and faculty negotiation teams have come to an agreement on salary. And we're hopeful, as Blake alluded to, in moving forward. But as a district with new leadership, let's set and pursue the goal to move away from merely complying with the faculty obligation number and the 50% law, the least common denominators. Let's be better. Let's move towards 75% full-time faculty by hiring more of those 1,000 plus part-time faculty members, outstanding faculty members, and bring them on full-time. We're the faculty, and our students deserve as much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kurt. Very nice statement.
Very good statement.
I just want to clarify, Blake, I was referring to the 8% in our goals regarding the transfer rate. Okay. I was a little careless. I need to be more careful. All right. Thank you for that. The IVC Academic Senate.
Academic Senate is busy this semester. We want to congratulate both negotiating teams on a lot of hard work on behalf of faculty at IVC. We're very focused right now on working with the administration on getting to the and with student services, which includes student services, getting to the bottom of the defaced flyers and working with students as well. And the things going on at our campus concern us deeply, and we're all focused on that right now. That's it.
Thank you for that. Vice Chancellor of Technology and Learning Services.
No report.
Thank you for that. Vice Chancellor of Human Resources, Cindy Viskachil.
Yes, just briefly, I want to thank the leadership of Kurt Meyer, the president of the Faculty Association, Louis Long, who is the chief negotiator, and his team, like has been stated before. A lot of hard work went into the agreement that went forward today, and we are making a lot of progress. So I want to thank both teams on that and the Board of Trustees. Separate from that, I have been invited to sit on a panel for the statewide Academic Senate plenary on Friday. So I'm enjoying being a partner with the Academic Senate. It's on faculty hiring and diversifying our faculty. So I'm pleased and proud to be a partner with the statewide Academic Senate to discuss that issue on Friday.
Thank you.
No report.
No, you preempted me. Vice Chancellor of Business Services has no report. Thank you. And now we move on to the IBC Classified Senate.
Okay, I actually have a couple things. On Wednesday, we will be holding our 13th annual Halloween bake sale to help raise funds for our foundation student scholarship endowment account. And also last week at our meeting, we actually had the chief of police come and spoke to us about the deface flyers, and kind of told us what was going on and how he was handling it, and I think overall made people feel a little bit more secure at the end. So it was good turnout.
It's good to hear that. Thank you. Saddleback College Classified Senate.
No report this evening.
Thank you for that. And that concludes our meeting for tonight. Enjoy your evening, everyone. Thank you.